Hello friends, so today we are going to learn a very important topic that is called database sharding. So without any delay, let's get started. Now we are going to talk about data sharding. Data sharding is nothing but the ability to make shards out of any existing database. Now let's imagine that this is our current database. Now eventually databases, they tend to grow larger in size and then they become too difficult to manage. So what the logical thing would be to do is to break this database into separate chunks depending on some characteristics or some property. And these chunks, they are typically referred as different shards. And the method of creating these shards out of the existing database is called data sharding. Now, this is a really important and really practical mechanism to do it because it helps us with the performance of database. Typically, in any application, you are going to have a bunch of different applications or method calling out various different databases. If we are using the same database for all of our needs, then there is going to be performance issues and also it becomes too difficult to manage. Rather than that, what we typically do is we do some separate segregations of segments, and then depending on the business needs, we only need to call some individual shards in many different manners. So rather than this whole transactions coming to the single database, it divides up the load. Now let's try to understand this with a logical and realistic scenario. Imagine that you are currently a fruit seller, and as a fruit seller, you have a small shop, or you are a very small level fruit seller, and you are currently dealing with 5 different kinds of fruits. Maybe you have apples, you have bananas, you have watermelons, and then you can think of any two, right? So in total you have 5 fruits. Now if you put all of these 5 fruits in just one same bucket or one same section, then it is going to be really difficult for you to manage all the fruits, and on top of it, it would be very difficult for your consumers. Even let's assume that if you are doing it at a smaller scale and you only have 50 fruits or 10 of each kind in a single bucket, you can still manage that. But what happens if this being rather than 50, maybe 5,000 fruits? Then are you going to put all of this in one big bucket like this? No, right? Because then it would be very difficult to find any particular fruit. It would be very difficult for consumers to look out for good fruit. Maybe if some fruit starts rotting out, you want to kick that fruit out because otherwise it would be some issues. Maybe you have some seasonal event going on where in any particular seasons you need more mangoes, and then you don't need any of these other, maybe like watermelon in winter or something like that. So all of these things becomes too tricky if you are trying to deal all of this at just one single big huge bucket where you are storing all the fruits. Rather than a sensible approach would be to create separate buckets for each different kind of fruit, and then these buckets you can manage them easily. You can have one bucket for apple, you can have another bucket for banana, maybe cantaloupe, and or whatnot. So what this would allow you to do is that as a shop owner, you can do inventory on all of these buckets quite easily. You can check how the fruits are doing, how many fruits do you need to order, are you going or are you running out of some issues. As a customer, it is going to help them greatly in order to pick or choose what kind of fruit they like, and rather than scrambling through all of this entire huge buckets of fruits. So there are a lot of benefits of sharding any particular set of database, be it fruits or maybe be it the actual data of your application. Now let's see that what are some of the additional benefits we get in the real computer science world by doing data sharding. So number one benefit that data shards allows you is the load distribution. How does load distribution come into the place? Well, previously imagine the scenario. You only had one big database where all of the applications were trying to call your database to fetch all the information they needed, which means there was significant load on this existence database that already contained huge amounts of data. Rather than this, if you have multiple shards, then you only need to call the shards that contains your data piece, and you don't have to worry about calling all the transactions at one particular server. And if you realize that some particular data, let's say that this contains more important data that has a lot of needs and that is being called by too frequently, maybe you can have replicated copies of this data as well, so that you can easily distribute and divide load. So that brings us to the second topic. It also helps with the scalability, because just as I mentioned that you can scale horizontally for any particular data shard by creating replicated copies, and it helps with the scalability and elasticity of your situation. So wherever you are seeing in any type of computer application, whether you are dealing with like any high traffic web application or any gaming application or any financial application, any sorts of application that deals with the large volumes of data, you will have to use data sharding at some point in your lifespan. But the question is, what should be the definitive way, or how can we define that, hey, out of this data, these are the different shards I'm going to make? For that, we need to take care of something called shard key. Now, shard key is nothing but a mechanism for us to allocate or break down this given existing database. Let me give you a few examples of the shard keys. Okay. So number one example we can think of, let's imagine that going back to our fruit application. So previously in the fruit application, we had bunch of different types of fruits lying around in the same set of bucket. So what we created the shard key is that depending on the type of fruit, we are going to keep them in a separate bucket, and over that time, based on that scenario, our shard key becomes the type of fruit. Now let's try to think of some more ingenuine and computer-like scenario. So think of a scenario where you are dealing with, let's say, a data that contains all the values in sequential manner. Okay, so I'm currently assuming that we currently have 1 million entries, and out of those million entries, we have stored each one of them sequentially one by one, and we have marked them with numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something like this. So one logical way to break this database that contains 1 million entries is we can create maybe, let's say, 5 shards, and each shard can contain 200,000 entries, and in those 200,000 entries we can actually have values that starting with 1 to 200 k, we are going to put it in one bucket. Then maybe 200k 1 to 400k we are going to put in the second bucket. So we can distribute the data based on the any particular column values or row values. That is another way to create a shard. There is one more way. Let's say, for an example, that for any existing data, you don't have all of these like numeric values. You are not sure what are the values stored or whatnot, but you have some sort of I would say primary key that defines that what are the data being stored in any particular entries. So on these primary keys, you can actually have a hash function, and what this hash function would typically do is, to give you an example, you can have a hash function where you are going to take this primary key, and let's assume that you want to create 3 different shards. So you can actually modulo it by 3 and take care of that what is going to be the remainder of that particular function. So in any case, let's say that for the your function, if the remainder is 1, you are going to put it in this bucket. If the remainder is 2, you are going to put it in this bucket. And if the remainder is 3, you are going to put it in this bucket. In this case, logically, you are going to create mathematically shards with 33.33% data in each one of them from this original existing large database. So these are different sharding mechanisms or different ways to create basically shard keys. There are a lot of considerations you need to make when you are trying to create these types of shard keys. Number one, what type of data you have. Number two, what type of sharding is available in that type of database, because typically there are a lot of different ways to store various kinds of data. We have SQL mechanism, we have NoSQL mechanism, we have time-based data, we have graph-based data and whatnot. So logically there are many deep mechanisms, but if we just want to understand on a surface level, for the basic kind of understanding, we can define sharding or the way to create shards in 2 simple ways. First one is a horizontal sharding and second one is a vertical sharding. So let me give you an example of horizontal sharding first. This horizontal sharding is very similar to this value number 2 we mentioned, where what we are going to do is we have all of these many different rows and many different columns stored in our database. So we are going to create separations somewhere in the middle, and this entire section we are going to treat as one shard. Same way, this entire section we are going to treat as second shard. So which means we are breaking the existing database on the level of rows, and this defines as a horizontal sharding. Now based on this, you might have get the idea that what does a vertical sharding means. It is nothing but simply we are breaking the existing data based on the column values. So we are going to have one shard that looks like this out of the existing data, and we can have another shard that looks like this out of the existing data. Now there can be many different datas and many different shards, but typically these are the two methods that you are going to deal with. And logically, SQL database are not a very good candidate for horizontal scaling. Why? Because it is not easy to break the existing data. Then you run into the issues like SQL joins or how you are going to take care of them and whatnot. So same way, typically it is very difficult for SQL data to go horizontal scaling for any existing database. So typically you do like vertical scaling or you scale up, but then also there are many different mechanisms for that. So let me know in the comments if you want to learn more about detailed sharding mechanisms and how exactly these things work. I can make a separate video, but logically, in order to have a general or generic understanding, I think this is going to be more than enough. And one of the important sharding mechanism is key based sharding. So I already mentioned what key based sharding means, that you are going to take any particular data entry from the existing data. You are going to treat that data as a key, and through that you are actually going to make or have some hash function that is going to run, and that is going to allow you to create logical separation of the existing database. So this can be either a horizontal scaling or a vertical scaling. It is not exactly fit in any particular group, but typically you are making the sharding decision based on some key value parameter that you are defining in the existing database. So what this allows you to do is all of these sharding mechanisms, basically it tells your application that whenever they needs to access any data, which shard they need to go to. Do they need to go to shard A, or do they need to go to shard B, or do they need to go to some other place? So basically all of the purpose of entire sharding is to make sure that we are breaking this large chunk of data into multiple pieces. But not only breaking that, from our application's point of view, we don't have to do additional work in order to create these different shards. Now there is one very good mechanism to create shards for your existing data, and that is to divide your data based on geography. Now this, how does it work is that, let's say that you are a multi continental company. So you are a company like something like Amazon or whatnot, and you have large volumes of data spread all across world. So what you can do is you can have one database for US customers, you can have one database for Canadian customers, you can have one database for Indian customer, and this would be your logical grouping of sharding the original large chunk of data. On not only this would allow you with the fast access of data, and also your applications being able to pretty quickly and pretty smoothly deal with all of the changes. On top of it, this is very useful whenever you are dealing with compliance issues, because things like GDPR or EU regulations, they all have a lot of different regulations that any country's data should reside in that same country. So that is very helpful, and in order to achieve that, you will have to shard your existing data. You cannot have a global copy of data, because this is a very bad practice. So whenever you are dealing with your system design interview, or even you are thinking about designing your own system, always think that what would be the best way and best mechanism for you to make changes for your data, because this is going to help you with a lot of things. This is going to help you with load distribution, scalability. This is also going to help you with performance. This is going to help you with latency. And on top of it, this also helps with the disaster recovery, replication, and high availability. So there are a lot of different benefits of creating data sharding, but on top of it, there are also a lot of issues as well. So the number one issue I already mentioned, that you need to have a logical, business friendly grouping that makes sense in order to create a shard. Next thing is not to create too many shards, because imagine that if you have currently one database with 1 million record, So if you are from this 1 million record, if you decide to do 10 shards with 100,000 data each, that makes sense. But if you decide to create like 1000 shards with each containing 1000 records, then this would be a bad practice, because you are going to be managing so many shards for so few data points. So all of your applications would always be in a state of panic and chaos. Next thing while creating shards is that not to create too few of the data points, because let's assume for the same example, we have a database with 1 million records. If I just create 2 shards, then each shard is going to contain 500,000 records. That is also a very bad practice, because of course I'm reducing the complexity, but I'm not reducing the complexity up to a level where it is going to be the most efficient approach in order to generate the best efficiency. So a logical thing to do is that you need to create sensible copies of shards from any existing data. It should not be too many or too few. On top of it, the shard should not be overutilized or underutilized. So you don't want to have shards that contain a lot of different data, and then in itself you need to break that down in further. You don't want to create a shard that contains too few data points, because that is also a bad practice. So logically, while creating shards, you also need to take care that you are creating the sharding key you have is also sensible, that is dividing the load in the equivalent manner. To give you an example, let's say that once again we have our 1 million database for this large shard. So if I create 5 logical shards, then for all of these 5 logical shards, they should be relatively same in the size. It should not be a scenario where 4 shards are maybe like 10,000 data points each, and then we have another shard that contain all the 960,000 data points. Then also this is a bad practice. Overall, you want to reach that optimal distribution in terms of shard containing the data. So I know in this scenario or in this video we discussed a lot of things, horizontal scaling, vertical scaling, or sorry, horizontal sharding, vertical sharding, and then different sharding mechanism, sharding key, how to index data, and all of these were just logical scenarios. Let me know in the comments if you want to know some actual implementation, so I can create a separate video on that. And I hope that my guide towards data sharding was helpful to you. And yeah, I'm always open for the feedback. So thank you so much and take care.